Hey everyone, this is Ray Cruz here and Amir Guerami with Mortgage Intelligently, and we are in episode 16 of our Mortgage Intelligently Deal Desk. Follow along with us today as we discuss a DSCR loan option that Amir's client had where they could not qualify for this DSCR product through traditional mortgages and traditional lending and even other non-QM lenders because the property happened to be an Airbnb property that our client had. So that was the actual subject property. And that subject property had negative cash flow on the Airbnb. So Amir was able to find a product and find a way to get this borrower qualified. So Amir, take it away.
Thanks, Ray. Guys, welcome to episode 16 of the MIDD. So as Ray, in his introduction, this was an Airbnb property our borrower owns in the Palm Springs area. He uses it for, all the different music events and Indian Wells Tennis Open that takes place out there. It's a very beautiful property, $1.2, $1.3 million property. Beautiful single family house. And there was one layer of hair that I forgot to mention to Ray in his introduction. This property was listed at the time right before we took his application as well too.
A deal killer, right?
Deal killer. Yeah, generally it's a deal killer. So this gentleman bought this property. It was fantastic investment during COVID and post-COVID for 2 or 3 years. Everyone was looking to get away from lockdowns and all that stuff, so the income was great. Here we are 6 years later, and the rental income was not there. I mean, he was literally, I think, $2,000-$3,000 a month negative. His obligation was about $7,000 to $8,000 a month, and he was getting in about $4,000 a month on an Airbnb. So he was looking to either sell, right, because he needed access to cash. He had spent money rejuvenating the property. It wasn't so easy getting it leased out anymore, right? Now there's, at least in that part of the country, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of listings for Airbnb and just generally on the market for rentals. So he had spent, roughly $200,000-$300,000 rejuvenating the house. He was in a cash crunch. So he was looking to sell it. He was referred to us by his realtor. Surprisingly, he's a realtor himself and a former loan officer. Yeah, he's a retired loan officer. So we started chatting about kind of the complexities of the loan. As you mentioned, what was working against them? One, the property was listed. Right. So in the mortgage world, it's a no-no. You cannot refinance a property that's listed.
Right. How long do you typically have to wait, Amir, before you can refinance?
Yeah, great question. It depends on every lender, but if I'm not mistaken, the general rule of thumb is about 6 months. Right. With us, there's no rule of thumb. If we took an exception to it, we understood what his goals were. And we had already seen in the history, and many of you can access this on Redfin. You could see he had listed it, taken it off, listed it, taken it off, because he couldn't move the property. So we made an exception for it being on the market. Going through the application with him, he was very confident that the property, when the appraiser comes out there, and when we do a DSCR loan, DSCR loan, I know everyone has different views on what it is because DSCR loans on the commercial side and the residential side are two different animals. On the residential side, we look at your principal and interest, taxes, insurance, and HOA dues. Those numbers all added together will have to equal whatever your rental income is for you to get the best rates and terms, or to even be able to do a DSCR loan on an Airbnb property.
Right. What does that ratio typically have to be, Amir? With these
it has to be 1-to-1. So we refer to it as a ratio of 1. That means that they both equal each other 1-to-1, right? So many lenders, if that ratio falls below 1, let's just use easy math. Let's say if your monthly obligation for all those things is $1,000 and you're not collecting $1,000, most lenders on an Airbnb property would pass on that loan. Okay. Some say, okay, we'll go down to 0.75%, meaning that you collect your liabilities 1,000, but you're only collecting 750. Generally, rule of thumb, no one goes below that. Okay.
Yeah.
Our
Really
situation.
quick, let me just recap really quick so everybody understands and gets clarity on this, Amir, because that's really important, because I think that's what you just finished off there with is spot on, where most lenders never go below 1, and the ones that do, 0.75 is their threshold, and that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like Amir said earlier, guys, if someone has rental income on an Airbnb, or whether it's short term or long term, it doesn't matter what it is, of $2,000, and like in Amir's case, let's say, for example, $500, right? But that mortgage payment is $1,000 per month. They would not qualify, right? Because that mortgage payment and that rental income is no longer a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not even 0.75 ratio, right? That's a 0.5 ratio, right? So they will not qualify for that. So everyone has a clear understanding of how that works. Go ahead, Amir.
Yeah, spot on. And I think you guys have to pay attention to the intricate details, because it's one issue on top of another issue. Even the lenders that allow you to go down to a 0.75, they won't allow it when you were just on the market as well too.
Right.
So it's layering one thing on top of another. So yes, you may listen to this and say, well, 0.75, company X may be able to do it. But I could promise you company X can't do it when you add on top of that this guy had his house listed, and for the past year, he's been trying to list it. Right. So we went and pulled historical Airbnb data for him and used current market Airbnb to come up with something, because during the entire past year, he was not renting the property out. He was trying to sell it the entire time. Right. So although it sounds very simple, it's extremely nuanced. And it was a hard deal to get done. His property covered maybe 54% of its monthly obligation, right?
For rental, yeah,
right. And we were able to use the cash out as reserves for the difference for this period of time. This loan carried with it a 1-year prepayment penalty, which is pretty standard for these types of loans, especially if your property has been listed on the market. Now, again,
1 year is pretty low, right? Don't they typically come 3 years or 5 years?
Yeah, you beat me to it. So again, most lenders require a 3-year prepay if your property has been listed for sale in the preceding 6 months to a year prior to the application. Again, this was something that we were able to get an exception for internally with our credit committee. So we have 3 exceptions here. We have 1-year prepay. We have you were listed 1 day on the market. You took your listing off the market a day before your application, and a low DSCR, right? So this gentleman went through this process. What was his overall goal? He needed access to cash, right? And this is not a very uncommon story. It's actually very common right now with investors that, everyone rode the Airbnb craze, and it was a great investment while it was good. And again, it still is, depending on where you are in the country, but in other parts, it's a nightmare.
Right. So with that being said, how did you guys end up, like, recap or, close it out for us? How did everything end up coming out? Like, what was the LTV, for example? Like, what type of LTV can you go up to with this type of scenario, right? What type of credit score did the borrower need, for example, for this type of scenario? Because it's not everyone with all credit, right? And you can go up to 100% of the value of the property. So what are those restrictions?
Yeah, great question. So this borrower was one that was credit-wise was not super high credit score. It was roughly a 700 credit score. I know for others it might sound high, but with these portfolio loans, it's not an amazing credit score to be in the 700s, not provide any income provide nothing.
You have multiple exceptions.
Yeah, multiple exceptions. We did cap out his loan to value at 75%.
Okay, that's great.
He didn't go to 75%. He chose to stay at 70 because it provided him better rates and terms, and it was more manageable for him.
Right.
So we did cap it at 70 due to his own needs, not because of our guidelines. His score was 700. I think this exception, we would have been limited to a 680 credit score. Obviously, we didn't have to worry about it, but based on the totality of everything that was there, I think 680 would have been it. Now, the credit scores being higher will impact the interest rate and the ease of getting an exception as well too. But yeah, that's a great question. It was it went up to 75. He chose 70, and his score was about 700.
Can you give the listeners like what type of interest rate?
Yeah, absolutely. So his rate was 7.5%.
Okay.
That's a 30-year fixed mortgage with the caveat that the first 10 years are interest only. So, and it's not an ARM. A lot of people get confused. When we offer interest only, we have multiple products available, but it's not an interest only ARM. That means that it's fixed for the entire 30 years. We allow you the option of just making interest only payments for the first 10 years, right? Many times, as you know, Ray, ARMs they start adjusting monthly.
Yeah.
After whatever period they are. Usually it's a 3, 5, 7 year ARM. And after year number 3, your mortgage is adjusting monthly. Ours is fixed for the entire term of the loan. And the first 10 years, you can make interest only payments. The remaining 20, you could, the loan amortizes over 20. So the interest rate was really good. In terms of points, he paid 1 point to get that rate. These loans generally carry points with them, especially when it's exception on top of except. And again, that's cheap.
Right.
You have 3 exceptions on a file that no one wants with so much hair. It's pretty cheap, and that's why he's a former loan officer. He jumped. He didn't even He knew. He knew. Yeah, he knew he was getting a bargain. And
you're giving him a lifeline.
Yeah. And I think when I looked at his credit report, I think we were like the 7th person he had reached out to. And there were other shops that do similar to what we do.
Right.
But again, it's layering exceptions on top of another. That there's a lot of good shops out there, but I think we're more forgiving than others because we understand the overall picture of what's going on.
Well, it sounds like you now have a client for life, especially being that he was a loan officer, right?
Yeah,
and you now have a referral source for life because you also knowing that you were referred by the realtor, right?
Yeah.
Which is how that loan officer ended up finding you. So great job, Amir. And, you helped this client out. This is just another example, right? What we come with on our Mortgage Intelligently deal desk here at MCF Mortgage, right? We come across these opportunities often. We want to share these opportunities with everyone so everyone has an understanding of just because someone else says no, it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily qualify for a mortgage, right? Especially if it makes sense. We always say, hey, look, guys, if it makes sense, we're more than likely going to be able to do this for you and help you guys out, right? Just give us a call. We have a conversation. We learn about your situation because everyone's situation is completely different, right?
Absolutely.
So any last words, Amir, before we
let go? Just to follow up on what you said, and I think you made a really good point that just because others say no doesn't mean we're going to say no. It doesn't mean we're going to say yes either, right? Again, it has to make sense. Common sense prevails, right? But with these scenarios, guys, we are literally going through the loan manually, meaning that most lenders, when they go through a loan, they feed it through a machine and the machine spits back a result to them. It's really that simple. It's like, put this in, get a results out, and then follow that checklist. We're making up the checklist as we're talking to you. So sometimes these loans require a bit more attention. They're a little bit more tedious because there's not a yellow road that we follow. We're basically building the yellow road as we go. So if you are in the market for these types of loans, or just be patient. And know that at the end of process, especially with us, if it's going to happen, when we tell you from that first phone call, it's going to happen, it'll happen. It might be a windy road, but you'll get there.
That's a great point, Amir, for you to point that out. Initially, on our first phone call, as long as, you know, clients are open, willing to share with us what the situation is, so we're not finding things out down the road, we're pretty good at navigating that process and letting you know whether, you know, we'll be able to move forward or not. You know, at the end of the day, we're not looking to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time, especially in this business, right? So if we're saying, hey, look, this is something we can get done, there's a very good chance it's going to get done, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right, everyone, that's it for episode 16 of our Mortgage Intelligently Deal Desk. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.